It's a minute till 4. I'm just waiting for people to arrive. If anybody's here, make a comment in the live chat. Not really sure. Not seeing anybody yet. There's Sandra. Hello, Sandra. How are you doing today? Hi, Mike. Let's see who else pops in. It's just 4 o'clock now. Fionneal? Fionneal? Hi, Al. I'm doing great. I have so much show and tell for everybody today. Hi, Naomi. I'm going to overload you with show and tell. I'm sort of waiting for Simon to pop in because I have a few things related to his earlier quarantine stream that I want to get out of the way, but I don't want to repeat myself. So I'm hoping that he shows up fairly soon. Okay, we might as well get started. Some of you, I mean, most of you know that I do these once a month, the first Monday in the month. And usually I try to find some sort of vague theme to go with them. And I tend to kind of veer around holidays. And I think the only holiday this month is, I want to say Mother's Day, but actually that's probably not true. Is it Memorial Day near the end of the month? But I wasn't thinking about that. Hi, Shadow's Truth and Naomi. Did I say hello already? There's Simon Herman. Hi, Simon. Okay, now we can officially start now that Simon's here. Yeah. So I picked the holiday Mother's Day, hence Mother May I. I don't know how many of you remember the childhood game of Mother May I and how that works. It's similar to a game called Red Light, Green Light. And basically, with Mother May I, one person stands in for Mother, and they stand at one side of the yard or the playground or whatever, the street, wherever you're playing. Everybody else lines up on the other side. And then Mother rather even handedly tells each person on the other side, you may take so and so, Susie, take one giant step forward, Billy, take two baby steps forward, and so on. And they have to say, Mother, may I? And then Mother can either say, no, you may not, or yes, you may. But if they don't say that, then they have to go back to the start. So they may have come all the way across. The goal is to come all the way across until you can tag Mother. Then you become the Mother. In the meantime, if you've forgotten to say Mother May I along the way, you get sent all the way back to the beginning. Let's see who's just popped in. Shadow's Truth. Jackie. Hello, Jackie. And Shadow's Truth. So that's Mother May I. And also, I got to thinking about tarot cards relating to Mother. And what else is there? The Empress. So I decided to feature Empress cards. Hi, Conrad. I'm going to get into my tarot deck a little bit later. A lot of you have kind of like gotten my news. Hello, Jen. A lot of you have gotten news that I went ahead and I did a tarot deck yesterday, but I'll get into the whole lengthy explanation of that. First of all, so Mother May I, yeah, has to do with Mother's Day and the Empress card, which is what we're going to look at some of those. But first of all, later on, we're going to have a little mukbang at the end. These are the Junior Mints, a favorite candy in response to Simon's mint sauce, which I have not yet tried. And I don't know if mint sauce is sweet or not, but the idea of sweet sauce on mushy peas sounds absolutely sickening to me. So I don't know. I may buy a jar of mint sauce at the grocery and give it a try. I don't think I'll be putting it on mushy peas. I did try the mushy peas, and flavor-wise, they weren't bad. Texture-wise, it's kind of like more solid pea soup, kind of. If you take pea soup out of the can, you haven't added water to it yet. Condensed pea soup, it's kind of like that, I thought. And it's like baby food, you know? It's like mushy peas, it's like jarred baby food. Simon likes my lighting, thank you. Vinegary, mint sauce is vinegary. Okay, the other thing I wanted to say, Simon also mentioned baked beans. And now I grew up on Campbell's pork and beans, which is pretty standard in the States. And over the last few decades, Bush's baked beans has become a very popular brand. This is not news to any of you Americans out there, but might be to some other people in other parts of the world. I don't know if Bush's is available elsewhere. They come in different styles. This one's home style, and this one is tangy sauce with bacon and brown sugar. I think the Campbell's one is a little more bland than this. This has more kind of spices in it or something. It's slightly sweet and a little bit tangy. It's not hot, spicy or anything, but it's good. I tend to doctor my baked beans. My mother used to make them, and my grandmother, their recipe. This is gonna gross some of you out as much probably as the mint sauce and mushy peas, but I do candied baked beans. And so what I do is I open a can of beans and I add ketchup and sugar, or ketchup and maple syrup, sometimes a little cinnamon. So, so it needs to be sweet and a little bit more tangy. And the ketchup, I guess ketchup has vinegar in it and it's sweet, but it's not sweet enough. You need to kind of add sugar, and it's really good. But of course, they're better if you bake them in the oven and, let them kind of, they get a little crispy on the top, kind of bubbly and crispy. So, yeah, brown sugar. Is brown sugar, I can't tell if Simon's upset by the brown sugar or delighted by the brown sugar. Campbell's one may be more like ours in UK. We also have Heinz. I noticed the British one in the British aisle section of the grocery is Heinz. And weirdly, that comes with a blue label on it because our Heinz, I think, has a red label. I'm not sure. But anyway, oh, it's a wide tin. Yeah, it is a pretty wide tin. They also come even larger. But this is like a whole meal in a can, pretty much. So let's get on to our, also for Simon, I think last month I mentioned James Rick Cleff's book, The Pithy Tarot, which I was recommending. And at that time, I only had the ebook version for my Kindle. But I liked it so much, and I wanted a handy, quick reference because on ebook, you can't it's a little harder to go to the card, um, digitally than in a book. You can just, like, leaf through. So this is the Pithy Tarot. I love this book. I highly recommend it for people with short attention spans. It's basically a, compendium of quotes. And I recommend if you're learning tarot, get this book, get yourself a Rider-Waite, go one card at a time, lay the card out, open your Pithy Tarot, see what quotes come to mind when you're looking at the card, look up in the book, see the associated quotes, see if you can find the quotes in here visually in the card. I find that a really good way to learn tarot. It's like a, what do they call it? A mnemonic, kind of a easy reference tool for learning. So, yeah, that's my recommendation for tarot texts. The best are the Heinz barbecued baked beans, blue label. Shadow's Truth favorite meal is baked beans, ham, and potato salad. Potato salad's another thing. There's so many different kinds of potato salad, and most of them I don't like. I'm really fussy. It has to be kind of sweet, but not overly liquidy with mayonnaise. And sometimes it's just a little too dry. There's not enough mayo in the salad. Sandra hasn't tried barbecued baked beans. Sandra! Simon says. Simon says. Simon says. That's another game like Mother May I. Simon says, put your hands on your head. Put your hand on your hips. Simon didn't say. It's a great little book. What's a great little book? The other one, I love that little book of tarot that Simon recommended, but this Pithy Tarot is really good, I think. Naomi can't eat potato salad either. Jackie, me either. Okay, so let's do some, let's move on to some Empresses. We'll start off with my favorite, of course, and everybody knows what my favorite is going to be who's followed me. It's the Empress, which is the highlight card from the RWS 2.0 tarot. This is my absolute favorite Empress and one of the most stunning cards in the 2.0 deck. That's my number one favorite tarot deck. And everybody knows it. It's still a favorite. It's been a favorite since I got it, I think in September. Second favorite, well, this is shifting a little bit. This is from the White Witch Tarot. And this is a majors only deck. Very weird for an Empress card. Very freaky. This deck isn't for everybody, you know. It's very psychologically oriented. But that's still high on my list. It's still in my top 5. I don't know if it's still my number 2. More recently, a favorite is the Tarot des Ozarks. Now, this is my absolute favorite Marseille deck, even though she doesn't call it a Marseille deck. And that is one gorgeous Empress. The coloring on that is just stunning. Then and so that's in my top 5 decks now, and my number 1 for Marseille. Next is the Little Monsters Tarot, and this is not a favorite Empress card. This is in my top 5 decks now, although it's not a favorite card from this particular deck. And the only reservation I have about this deck is I don't like the card size. But I love the images and I love the way they feel. And should Simon have any interest later in me doing I won't do a walkthrough, but if anybody wants to see any cards from this deck, I'd be happy to show them. But I'm going to set that aside for now. Next is Carol Herzer's decks, the 2 Carol Herzer decks I have. This is the amazing brocade satin. I don't know if it's silk or satin. I think it's satin brocade bag that Carol sent me for the Illuminated Tarot. And this is the Empress from the Illuminated Tarot. Then she sent me this other bag, which is just cotton, I think, or polyester, for the Crystal Fire Illuminated Tarot. And this is the Empress from that one. So you can see them side by side. It's a very fiery, beautiful Empress. There's quite a difference there. Now this one is sharper in the line work. This one's a little more blended, and some might say blurred, but it's not really blurred. I don't know. But those are those 2 decks. And I've been using them a lot lately. Next, we'll move on to, let's see, what do we do? This is another favorite deck, which I'm keeping in a Peggy bag. Beautiful Peggy bag. Lucian's here. Hello, Lucian. This is the Silicon Way Intuitive Tarot. And adults in the room warning, nudity warning. This is our very motherly Empress card. Then we have, let's see, what do we do next here? This is an odd little majors only deck. It's called the Tarot of the World in Colors. It's an homage to Keith Haring's art. And there's some debate over whether this is actually his art or modeled after his style. I hadn't quite got to the bottom of it. It looks very convincingly to me like his artwork. And it's a very interesting take on the Empress, I think. Trying to keep an eye on the chat if there are any questions or comments, but it looks like you're all just kind of chatting with each other, which is fine. Then we have the Inversion Tarot, and that's the Empress from the Inversion Tarot. This deck I've sort of destroyed. I haven't used it much because I tried coloring it in and I only did a few cards and it was a disaster. So I started with the pip cards and they sit in the bottom of the tin. And I can still use the majors as a majors only deck. I don't know what I'm going to do with this deck. Next we have, this is the Ancient Italian Tarot and a lovely Empress. Very old school, nice colors. Is there enough light? And here is the Edmund Dulac Tarot. This is a weird kind of, it's a pretty card, but this deck is kind of hard to read. You kind of have to know the label associations to figure out what's what. I mean, you see the Roman numeral 3, so you know it's the Empress, but otherwise, I don't know if you'd pick up on that from the card. Lighting okay, Naomi? Yeah, cross paths, Lucian. Yeah, this is a beautiful deck. If you like sort of um, old school fairy tale type art and, pre-Raphaelite, Victorian era kind of stuff, you might like this. It goes very well with, I would say, the Arthur Rackham deck and the John Bower. Then I have the Medieval Tarot, and this is the Empress from the Medieval Tarot. Hi, Brienne. And, this is a recent purchase that I'm getting to like better. Wasn't sure about it at first. The individual cards, some are wonderful, some are not so wonderful, but in a spread, they're beautiful. This is the Gypsy Palace Tarot. And I got this because I was looking for red-based cards to go in a bag that I want to put a colorful deck in. And it's very colorful. They do, it's the label at the bottom's a little overbearing, all that yellow, and there's 4 languages. And that's not like what I would say is a typical looking Empress. Comes in English, German, La Imperatrice. Not sure what that is. And Hungarian. Spanish, maybe? And let's see. The Golden Klimt, which is a sort of a warrior-like Empress. Lucian, I do like older decks, more classic art, but I'm getting more into more modern and abstract decks. I don't have a new light, Simon, but it's still daylight here. Maybe that helps. There's not a lot of light coming in my windows because I have a kind of a sun curtain here. But I have a little gooseneck lamp over here and another one here, and I angle this one up and down. I don't know. I don't know what accounts for the lighting today. Oh, Sandra has the Gypsy Palace, I think. Then we have, this is the Chamonette. And this is the Empress from that. This is a deck I really liked at first. Has some really bizarre, surreal, sort of modern depictions. But I don't know, I'm kind of growing away from it. Not sure about it anymore. Then we have the Barbara Walker in a tin. And this one I trimmed. So they're dinky cards. I left the labels on the bottom, but no, I'm not that keen on the artwork on this. I thought I would like it at first, but I'm not sure about it. Only a few more. Next we have the Royal Fez Moroccan. which is beautiful, but it's mostly black and white with little accents of color. In this card, it's just yellow. There's a couple little dots of orange and one dot of green. It's weird. I haven't found too much history behind the creation of this deck. I'm guessing they intended it this way, but it looks to me almost like it was started and never finished, like the coloring wasn't done. Not sure about that. There's another card from there so you can see what I'm talking about. Next we have Miss Cleo's Tarot Power Deck and her Empress from cartoon Egypt. Simon, why are we looking at Empress cards, Miss Y? Well, this is because I came up with the theme of mother for Mother's Day in the month of May, and the most motherly card in the deck, to my mind, is the Empress. If you can think of a more motherly card than the Empress in the tarot deck, let me know. If there is one, I've overlooked it. Didn't come right to mind. Next one is the Kalma Tarot, and this box is completely misleading. This is another Majors Only deck, and a kind of a humorous looking Empress, giving side eye to the Emperor, I think. Oh, your Mother's Day is in March. No, ours is next week, I think. Next weekend. Oh, that's weird that they're on different days in different countries, huh? Then we have the Seventh Sphere, and this is the Empress here with a little bit of little hints, little flecks of gilding, highlights. I don't know if that's communicating well. Sort of pastel-y. It's one of those lovely magnetic boxes that I love. This one I was turned on to by my friend Justin Michael, Dame Fortune's Wheel Tarot. And this is the Empress. This one has some nice, bright, vivid colors and kind of reminds me color-wise of, I mean, this is kind of a limey green, although I don't think it's picking up there. It probably looks more like yellow. But color-wise, it kind of reminds me of the Albano Weight, which I don't own, but has that kind of vibrant sort of 70s color feel to it. And I have a lot more, but I'm just going to close with this one. This is the Tarot of Delphi, which a lot of people have been craving. And this one comes with 2 Empress cards. These are the backs, beautiful backs. And one is the more traditional, motherly Empress. And then the other one, oh, hi, Jilly. The other one is a more warrior princess type Empress. Jen thinks she needs this. If you look back on my channel, Jen, I do have a walkthrough of the whole thing, but it's early on, and you'll be hard-pressed to find this. I don't know whether there's any plans on reprinting it. It's out of print and is going for hefty prices these days. So that is my look at Empresses for the month of May. Oh no, I have one more, which leads me to another subject. This is the Navigator's Tarot of the Mystic Sea, and I first discovered this deck from Sacred Seeds channel. Elle at Sacred Seed. I don't know whatever happened to her. If anybody knows what became of her, I'd be curious to know. I hope she's all right. And I'm not big on the labels on these. I bought 2 copies and I trimmed the labels off of one, and now I'm hard pressed to identify a lot of the images, cards, because there's so much going on in them and some of them aren't readily discernible. But the thing I fell in love with on this card is, you'll notice in the green Empress's hand is this little rattle. And that rattle is called a sistrum. And I am obsessed with sistrums. In fact, I bought a few, which I am now going to show you. A sistrum is a rattle, I believe, traditionally from Egypt. You see them a lot in old Egyptian artwork. And basically, they look like this. And instead of, something hollow containing beads or whatever, you shake it like that. And stuff, some of them don't have little spangles on them. They have just this part goes from side to side and makes the noise, which I'd love to find one of those, but there don't seem to be any available online, only in old artwork depictions. But I got this one on eBay. It's brass and wood, and I think it was about $50. So that's a sistrum. This is also a sistrum. It's sort of, like a disco sistrum. And same kind of idea. And then there's this one out of wicker and bottle caps that was made in Africa that I ordered. And this is beautiful and has a lovely kind of tinkly sound to it. I'm not shaking it very hard, but you can hear it's almost a wind chime kind of sound. That's the typical sistrum sound. I hope this isn't too loud for all y'all. And then this is one I found on Etsy that I ordered from a woodcrafter in Latvia. And I absolutely love it. It's a baby rattle, I guess, but it's all handmade in wood. And I put this in my little medicine bag that I take when I go to shamanic circles sometimes. So those are my sistra, which I believe is the plural of sistrum. One last thing before I get to my my tarot that I designed. Simon also mentioned earlier today domino divination. And I got the bicycle playing cards. These are the double nines. I've done a walkthrough of that. And I have a number of domino decks. I have one I wanted to show you. It's very typical. It's in a wooden box with a slide top, but I couldn't get at it. It's in a box up on high shelves with other boxes on top weighted down, and I was going to injure myself trying to retrieve it. But I had this really cute little teeny tiny one. It's in like a little vinyl case with a snap, and really nice and really handy. And this is made out of the same, these are black instead of off-white, made out of the same material, I believe, as Simon's and the other deck that I have that usually has little brass spinners on them. I think it's like sort of a resin, like a plastic resin. They don't sound like plastic. They have They have an almost like glass-like sound or something, so there must be a certain density to them. They kind of remind me of this stuff that jewelry used to be made of in, I think, the 40s or 30s called Bakelite. But anyway, I just really like that little domino set. Very small, very handy, very convenient. And I may order that Buckland book, but you can Google domino divination online and get pretty much the same information free of charge. Let's see. Travel dominoes. Yes. Naomi has a little domino set. I have another one I cannot find that came in a little, it was plastic, came in a little box about 2 inches long and has a full set of 28s in them. And they're like smaller than the nail on my little finger each, but about half that size. And I used to take it to cafes and play dominoes with friends, but I don't know where I put it. I can't find it. So anyway, now to the main event. Um, unless I've missed any. Oh, what do the spinners do? I'm not sure what the purpose of the spinners is. I know it's like a raised little brass button. And when you play dominoes, you lay them face down in what they call the bone pile. And the spinner raises the domino up slightly so it's not flat. I think you can like make it spin, which I assume is why they're called spinners, but I really have no idea if that's the reason they're called spinners. I don't know. Maybe you can Google that. Lucian didn't know you could divine with a domino set. Yes, we're looking into that. I think Kelly at Truth and Story has done some stuff on that, and she also has that card set. I'm trying to find a method of working with them that is easy. I mean, dividing with dominoes is almost as tricky for me as working with Pip decks and Marseille, the minor arcana. It takes a little more work for me to learn and memorize numerical assignments and meanings and so forth. Simon, you just tried spinning them? But still, I don't know what purpose that serves because, as far as I know, there's nothing in dominoes that would lead you to need to spin it one way. I suppose for divination purposes, you could spin it and then it's like shuffling that domino, to give you prominence of one side of the top over the other. Maybe. I have no idea. Isn't it to protect them when you shuffle them? Says share a little happiness. Hello. You shuffle them face down, shoving them about on the table so the spinner would protect them. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, it's not like the surface, the pips, the dots are called pips on dominoes, coincidentally. It's not like they would rub away because usually they're indented into the surface. Conrad says our witch doctors here in South Africa, Sangomsas, use as few dominoes mixed in when they throw bones for divination. Interesting. Elle's going to give them a go. We should have a little side divination group of dominoes or something. Learn them together. I don't know. Okay, so we're gonna get to yesterday. I mean, for years I've been talking about doing a tarot deck, and I have had all these ideas and collected all these art supplies. In fact, over the past week, I sent away for an RWS coloring book and 2 sets of blank tarot cards that I can draw on the cards. And I also I tend to do a lot of drawings on 5 by 8 inch blank index cards. So I sent away for some of those because now I'm running low. But yesterday I got up and I don't know what was driving me, what was possessing me, but I thought I can't procrastinate any longer. I don't have a full idea of what I want to do with the tarot set, but I like the idea of having something professionally printed and done and on sites like Make Playing Cards, Printer Studio, and I think Game Crafters is another one. I haven't checked them out yet. And I love the feel of the cards from my RWS 2.0 and my Solabusca that both came from the, by the way, this is the Empress from the Solabusca, which is bizarre because it's a guy, you know. But anyway, but these have a really nice, almost plasticky, waxy kind of slick feel that I really like. And I'm kind of hoping that my cards come out that way. I checked the description of the RWS 2.0 and they seem to be the same, but they don't indicate if they have a special coating on them or something. So we'll see in a couple weeks when they show up. But anyway, I'm veering off course here. So yesterday morning, I woke up early and I decided, you know, I just can keep procrastinating and putting this off, or I can just, get moving. And the hardest thing I think with art is making the first mark. And I decided, don't worry about your system. Just start, with a majors only, 22 cards. Even 22 seems overwhelming, but just do them one at a time. So I got out my 5 by 8 inch blank index cards, and a watercolor pencil, sepia tone watercolor pencil, and I started sketching. And what I did was I popped open my computer, I Googled the Fool and then images and looked at various decks representations of the Fool and just got a general idea of elements in the Fool card that I liked and started working with those. Just very minimal, very basic. Now, the disclaimer on this deck is it's very crude, it's very simplistic, and I mostly did it to kind of break out of my procrastination and get a project started, but also to make playing cards, how to use the templates, to gauge what kind of results I would get from the original to the printed version. And if Conrad's still in the room, yes, Conrad Stain was very, very, very helpful to me in advising me on how to use the templates, how to size my images, how to negotiate the many options that make playing cards. And so, I just got to work and I spent all day. I spent a few hours in the morning doing drawings. Then I went in with a brush and water and sort of bled the line work. And Simon says, "Are they available?" Not yet, Simon. I want to see them first. So I've made them private for now until I actually get a deck in my hands. And once I see that I'm happy with them, I'll make them publicly available, and you'll all hear about that. I'll do a walkthrough and I'll post links. But I think I posted on Facebook an image that I decided to use for the back of the deck. And the image, this is another throwback to something Simon mentioned this morning when he mentioned favorite children's books. One of my favorite childhood books is this wonderful little book called Harold and the Purple Crayon. Do any of you know it? By Crockett Johnson. And this little boy, Harold, in here, he has a magic purple crayon and he creates his reality by drawing. Like everything he draws becomes reality. It's such a fantastic little book. It's probably my favorite childhood book. And I love the quality of, the image of this little boy. But and that wasn't in my mind when I did my drawings, but it does remind me of Harold a little bit. I tried to go with a sort of an androgynous figure, and the figure, I guess you could say, is masculine, but it's more like a cross between like Alien and Casper the Friendly Ghost, and maybe a little bit like the little boy in Harold and the Purple Crayon. So I don't have the cards yet, but I will show you the original artwork. Also, I came up with a name for this deck, and the name came out of the image I decided to use for the card backs. Oh, and this is a very minimal deck. It's only sepia tone on sort of ostrich egg white, off-white kind of bone color. But this is the image for the backs. And I decided from this image, I don't know if you can see a little bit of a similarity there between him and Harold. But I decided, because this is wide-eyed and open-mouthed, that I would call this the Open Face Tarot. So I hope everybody likes that name, and I hope it hasn't been used before. I tried to Google, but I found a discussion on Eclectic Forum, but nothing about a deck called the Open Face Tarot. And I used it because that character is in almost all the pictures. Now I'm going to show you some of the images. I would show them to you in order, but first I want to test you a little bit and see if you can guess some of my cards are a little more obscure than others, a little less obvious. Can you tell me which card of the deck this might be? It's a bit of a challenge, but I want some guesses in the chat. Can you tell? Can you tell from this? Naomi says the Empress. Jackie says the Empress. Jilly says Empress. Jen says Empress. Sandra says Empress. Elle says, oh, good. Hi, Masha. Everybody says Empress. I'm thrilled. You got it. Okay. Here's another one. This is a little bit tricky. See if you can tell me what this card is. This might be a little harder. This is a majors only deck, so that should clue you a little bit. Melissa says High Priestess. Lucian says it looks like the moon. Brienne says High Priestess. Jen says High Priestess. Masha says High Priestess. Did we lose Simon? So, so yeah, it's the High Priestess. It's a little tricky. She has I don't know if you noticed, this is sort of a scroll, and you get the two pillars and the moon above her head. And this is a little less obvious. This is a crystal ball in her hand, but anyway. So, okay. Well, those were the cards that I was the most worried about in the deck. So I'll walk you through the whole deck now in sequence and see what you think. Simon, when it was away, now he's back. So here we go. So that's the back. The back of the cards will be like this. They have been tweaked a little bit. I think the I changed the coloring all to sepia tone, even though they pretty much are. But some of the card stock, when I scanned them, came out more yellowed and aged than others. This is not acid-free paper, and I guess some of the cards I drew on was older than other cards, and there wasn't a consistency to the coloring. So I had to change all the scans to sepia tone so they'd all match. But anyway, so those are the backs, and the lines are a little bit less red now. They're going to be a little more dark brown. Here is the Fool. The tricky thing about working, oh, hi, Brant. We just sort of started on this reveal. These are the backs of the cards, and which I think I showed you. This is the Fool. The tricky thing about Make Playing Cards template is you can zoom in on images, but you can't zoom out. So you have to be really particular to have extra space around your borders. Otherwise, you lose part of your image, and you have to be really particular about the size. So that's why there's a lot of white around there. That's the Fool. Here's the Magician. Here is the High Priestess. Here's the Empress. And actually, it's funny, I don't know if there's actually a Biddy tarot deck, but when I Googled all the images online to use on my computer to like use as a drawing reference, the ones from the Biddy tarot seemed the most helpful to me. But some of them I flipped around horizontally, and I mostly wanted them to be looking forward towards the future. So all the cards, with the exception of two, are looking forward. One of the cards that is not is the Emperor, who's looking to the past. And I particularly liked the Emperor. Oh, this is another one that I wasn't sure if would confuse people. Can you tell that this is the Emperor and not the Hierophant? You'll be able to her deck is called the Everyday Tarot. Okay, thanks, Brent. I'll check that out. Um, can you tell this is the Emperor, not the Hierophant? I think you probably could. Well, the cross is a little bit misleading, probably. The cross is because he's holding up the typical, I don't know what that is, bauble, royal ball with a little cross on the top of it. But here's the Hierophant, and you can tell very obviously the difference between the two. But this one, this Emperor, I tried to kind of use the Marseille Emperor as a guide because I really love that cross leg sort of number 4 style positioning. So that's why I did that. And like I said, here's the Hierophant. And so this one should be obvious because of the cross keys and the three-level staff, the gesture, and the two disciples. No. I hope I distilled this to, I mean, it's very simplistic, but I hope I distilled it to the most important symbolic things. Now, some cards I like more than others. I'm getting these other ones that I like less are growing on me. Some of them I did up to as many as 7 different versions before choosing one to use, but I was working very quickly. This is the Lovers. And you can tell, I guess, 2 figures with a heart between them and a celestial figure above with light radiating from the head and sort of wing-like features, so you can tell. But I kept with the open face thing on the angel there as opposed to the figures. Then this is a weird one. This one I drew a little inspiration from the Everyday Witch Tarot, which is my favorite Chariot card. Because in that one you don't have, I always view Chariot as moving forward, but also confusion over which direction to go. Because usually the horses or sphinxes or whatever are either like laying down, not moving, so you're not moving forward, or they're facing or pulling in different directions. But in the Everyday Witch Tarot, she's in a motorcycle and there's road signs that go this way, that way. And I love that interpretation. So that was kind of my inspiration for my Chariot card. No, I kind of don't like that the road looks sort of like pants. But you can see a fork in the road and the 2 directions from the, which direction. And I also made the wheels not round, which would be problematic for a chariot. One of them sort of with a point on the bottom and one with a point on the top. So, and it's almost sort of like he's at the top of a hill, at the peak of a hill too. So I mean, I kind of like all these elements in here, even though this is a sort of an awkward looking card. This is the Strength card. Masha liked the wheels. The pants road shows movement, though. It works. I like that strength this time. And it's a little bit of a weird lion or monster creature. I don't know. I put sort of sharp teeth on it, so it would be that wild beast kind of, And it's relatively friendly. Sandra likes it. It's not the usual prying the jaws open strength. Simon says strength within. Here's my hermit. Brienne likes the awkward chariot. It is really awkward. I originally did one with 2 creatures on the front, but they had no faces and 3 legs, and it looked really weird. I thought, they won't know what this is. And then I thought, well, the most important part of the chariot is that it's a wheeled mode of transportation, I think, more so than what's pulling it. But I think that the weird wheels on it has kind of made it a little bit more symbolic in terms of which direction this thing is traveling. So people like the hermit. Here's the Hangman. This is one of the cards I like pretty well. This is the second card in the deck that's facing the past. And I also kind of did this one sort of like that. I like the sort of similar number 4 cross leg kind of look. Naomi asks, how am I going to do the minors? Um, that remains to be seen. This is an experiment. So I'm going to see how I feel about it when I get this deck. And I may just leave it alone and start a whole different deck to do all 78 cards. Or I may end up, once I have this in black and white, going back in and adding color and reissuing this, and then maybe expand it to 78. But 78 was too overwhelming. Definitely. I mean, 22 in a day. Come on, people, give me a break. I did 22 cards in one day, even if they are simple. This is the Wheel of Fortune. This also was a little bit tricky, but you've got the wheel, and I thought about what's important in the wheel. And I thought, you need something at the top that's positive and at the bottom that's negative. So Simon wants me to do pips. I'm still too early in studying pips. Pips would be sort of easier. Yeah. All right. I will take all that into consideration. So in this one with the wheel, I have a crown at the top because, that's for tarot, that's sort of like the ultimate, the pinnacle, become king, And at the bottom, I have a reclining figure, which for me is sort of death, So, you know, your top is king, the bottom is dead, I didn't put the animals scrambling around the wheel. It's just sort of like Wheel of Fortune, yay or nay, thumbs up, thumbs down, king, or, couldn't think of another symbol for the opposite of king. So I have, rising to the top, rising, falling to the bottom. So Jilly likes the wheel. Melissa says pips are evil. Not sure what she means by that. Maybe she doesn't like Marseille decks. This is my Justice card. And I sort of like, Masha says, I need a majors only deck with a little monster from the strength card as a main character, Marseille style, just dreaming. So this is my Justice card. And I sort of like the sort of surreptitious stance that he's kind of walking along on tiptoe. Simon's disappointed. No broken chain. Broken chain. Broken chain. On what? Broken chain. What are we talking about, Simon? I think are we thinking of it? Oh, you're talking about the strings on the weights. Okay, I got you. I got you on the scales. No, that was my biggest bugaboo about the Radiant Wise Spirit deck, that one of the strings was broken on the scales. You will not see that in my deck. But anyway, what I was saying is I kind of like that in this one, the Justice is like surreptitious and on tiptoe. It's like a balancing act, kind of. So this is sort of like the Major's version of the Two of Pentacles, sort of juggling in a way, Now we have Death. Now, here I veered a little bit too, because I didn't want to do a skeleton, because a skeleton is totally different from the rest of the characters in the deck. All my characters have this, googly open face, and I didn't want to go away from that. So here I just kind of exaggerated the skull into a larger cranium for the skeleton. And I thought, okay, we know he's on a horse, but we need to know this isn't a knight, But, we know it's not a knight because it's a majors only deck. And I thought, okay, well, he's always carrying this banner. I didn't want to even put a skull on the banner. I want the only faces to be focused on the lead character's face. So I thought, okay, what can I put on there that sort of is a negative to life? And it's an X, like crossing out existence, crossing out life, crossing out the path, moving forward by Xing out, what you've got. And I've got the two little figures dead or dying on the ground. Next, I have Temperance. It's all right. It's not bad, I guess. Masha likes the death. We do not need a skeleton. My favorite Russian deck has a figure in a death suit, so it works for me. Jen says you can tell it's not a knight. Naomi says I would be afraid of meeting death with that side eye. Sandra likes it. So yeah, this is the Temperance card. This is one of my, besides the Fool, this is my favorite card in the deck. I love this devil, everybody. I love this devil. It works for me. I had to give him horns to make it the devil, but otherwise it's the same face. And I was going to have the figures chained, but I thought chains are awkward and too finicky and finely detailed to slap on these little figures. But I thought, what better way than to have the devil hold his prisoners in his hands? So, yeah, I just really love this devil. I'm so happy with this card. Some cards I'm not sure about. I'll probably live with them, but I think they could be improved on or changed. But that one is perfection to me. This is another one that came out really well, I think. Obviously, the Tower card. Simon says, awesome devil. This is the Tower card, and I think this came out really well. It's, doesn't have that main figure in it. There's, I think, maybe two cards in the deck that don't have that figure. But it's a typical Tower card. It's got the lightning bolt, it's got the tower. The tower is not like falling apart, but you do see a crack in the top of the tower. And more important, I think, than the tower coming apart is the lightning bolt and the figures falling. And you notice I put jagged rocks below to put danger in there, the danger element. So Katie's loving this. Hello, Katie. Elle's loving the Tower card. Simon, everything you need. Naomi, love that. Masha's favorite is Strength so far. This is another one that's kind of confusing. This is the Star card. I'm not sure about this. I'll probably leave it alone, but I'm not real thrilled with it. I'm tempted to redo it. But it kind of gives a new meaning to Star for me, because this one kind of looks like that phrase, don't cry over spilt milk. And it's sort of like she's not pouring water on the ground or in a pool. It's like she's pouring it on herself. Like, oops, I spilled my milk, But there's always hope, in that radiant star above. So that's my Star card. No, this is my Moon card. I like my Moon card. Masha, what do you think? I've got the two towers. I've got the googly open face in the moon with the two sides of the moon. And it's a little bit cross-eyed because they're kind of looking at each other. I've got the path. I don't have the little little crustacean at the bottom. I never liked that. I got the water. I never understood that crustacean. The thing I always liked about the moon card is you have a winding path leading off in the distance, and on two sides of the path you have dogs. But to me, one dog is a domestic dog, the other is a wild dog. And I don't know if you can tell that here. One is more calm, the other one I gave a sharp fang to. So Simon misses the crayfish. I don't get the crayfish. I don't understand the crayfish. I sort of understand maybe we crawled up out of the primordial ooze, but crayfish doesn't say that to me. I just don't understand it. Somebody can explain that to me. So, and maybe in Jen's tarot play date, when we get to that card, we can have a big discussion about the crayfish, but I really don't like it. So Conrad says, love it. Looks like the moon faces are kissing. Yeah, I like that too. And also one is a little more demonstrative than the other. You see, the quarter moon almost seems a little wary or afraid of the more demonstrative side of the moon. And that kind of echoes into the wild and domestic dogs for me, I think. But next we have the sun. So very simple, not a creepy baby. It's my creepy character on a horse under the sun. That's all it is, really. I mean, all you really need in the sun is the sun. But, I have a figure riding forward on a horse. I don't draw horses very well, but I think you get enough of an idea that it's a horse. Jen loves moon cards with a face. Well, mine is two-faced. Two-faced moon. There's another thing to read into a card, possibly. Melissa says, crayfish is us moving into a higher order, going from our primordial basic selves to our true purpose or higher calling. I think I might then have made it a snake or a worm, a flatworm, or an amoeba or something. It might be good to have an amoeba at the base of the path and, maybe a human being or an angelic figure at the top of the path. I don't know, just something to think about. Perfect horse, says Jackie. This is another one I really like. This is my judgment card. And, you have the little figure rising out of the coffin, just one figure. Do we really need more? You got the angelic figure with the trumpet, bugle. It's all we need, I think, of the most important elements from the tarot. Sandra likes it. Simon loves it. Naomi says, yep. This is my world card, which is a little awkward. The ring is a little off kilter and uneven. The figure is really awkward and peculiar looking. They don't seem to be in ultimate joy. They seem almost apprehensive about, coming out into the world, but that can be a scary thing, Elle loves the world. Sandra loves it. So, folks, I don't know how I can't tell if you guys are just being very supportive of me or if you actually really do like the deck. I mean, I can't wait to see, and also, I put in the titles online in their template. So you'll see the cards with titles. I thought originally about leaving them without any titles, but I just wasn't sure if people could identify the cards, particularly that Empress and High Priestess card. But you guys all got it right away, So I don't know whether I should Melissa says going beyond your capabilities. Actually, this isn't going beyond my capabilities by a long stretch. These are so crude. I'm so out of practice and discipline in terms of drawing. I can do much better than this. But considering I did this all 22 of these in one day and got them all tweaked and scanned and uploaded and ordered a proof copy, I am beyond happy with this. So I want to thank you all for, you know, your thoughts on that. And I guess, I've been apologizing like crazy over how crude and primitive it is. I was almost going to call it the primitive tarot or the silly tarot or the crude tarot. And I just wasn't sure, or the foolish tarot. And I just wasn't sure about any of those names. And they all sort of sound like, they underestimated or could have been used by somebody else. And so when I came on the open face tarot, I really liked that. I liked how the open face on the back, that wide-eyed, open-mouthed look of awe, is kind of what I think of in my mind when I think about the Fool, being totally open to possibilities. So, Naomi says, sometimes primitive is all you need. Masha says it's going to be a great deck. It's going to be very no frills. There is a title card. Oh, I threw in one extra card too. My biggest worry about not doing minors or doing a majors only deck is my experience with majors only decks isn't that they don't have enough information, but they're harder to shuffle. 22 cards is not an easy shuffle. The only one that's not true of is my White Witch Tarot, because those cards are really thick, and that works with 22. But somehow I feel like 22 is not enough and 78's too many. And yet I didn't want to do a Lenormand or an Oracle deck. So I just kind of wasn't sure, about throwing in extra random cards with keywords and stuff. Happy Squirrel, Simon says, I kind of have a happy squirrel in my deck. What I ended up doing, I just added one more card, and that one I used the back design on the front of the card. And I thought, okay, what word could I use to describe that open face? Is there another word for that I could add to the majors, and I couldn't think of one. And well, the throwaway card, Conrad, it's this card. It's just, I put a label on it. So these are the backs, but that's also the same image on the front of the throwaway card, except it's got a question mark above its head. So the text on that one is the question mark. So all my majors, my happy squirrel or whatever, is a question mark card, a question card. So I don't know. I could have come up with a keyword, but a keyword is always kind of problematic because it's me imposing something on it for readers. And I don't like when people do that to me. So I just kind of wasn't sure about doing it with my own deck. And nothing came out strong enough in my mind to use. But question mark is like totally open there, I think. And question could be kind of like your magic 8 ball, like, your question's not answered, shuffle again. Or it could be, just stop a minute, question things. Think about things a little bit more. Ask yourself questions. Jackie says wonder. Yeah, exactly. I could have used the word wonder, but I like question mark. It's not quite as specific. Simon says cool concept. So I don't even know why I did this. Like when you first set up the template, you tell it how many cards you want in the deck. And I knew I was gonna want a couple extra cards. I would want, like, a title card and maybe a card with explanations or rules or something on it. So when I built in the template, I added 2 extra cards. And then I thought, I don't need to put in directions. People know how to use a majors only deck. I don't need to spell it out. And one card isn't going to be enough to give, for me to supply keywords. Let people Google. If they don't know how to use a majors deck, let them buy a tarot book or, Google, you know. Um, if I do, at some point expand this or reissue it and add a booklet, which also adds expense, I might go into an explanation of, you know, why I design each card the way I did. But I tell you, a lot of these designs and symbols that I explained to you, they weren't there when I first put them on the page. So I think I have some kind of spiritual muse out there because these just kind of came out. And afterwards, as I was looking at them, the way you all look intuitively at your cards, I was like thinking about the symbols. I was looking at directions. Like I said, a lot of, I like the idea of them looking, this is very Marseille to me. I like them looking to the future, not to the past. For me, that's kind of what tarot is all about. It's not so much like, oh, what did I do wrong? Why did I do this? But like, what do I need to look out for up ahead? Or what do I need to know about what's coming up? Or what, how can I be optimistic about what's coming? So I like that sort of looking forward thing. The two that are looking back are the Emperor, which is interesting in retrospect. I when I used my helps online with the images, I just kind of, I don't know, some of them I flipped around. Like I liked them better the other direction. I don't know why I did that. I didn't use them specifically from the image I saw on the screen, like the Biddy Tarot. I just flipped flipped a lot of them around. Um, but the Emperor, well, I think it was mostly because of the direction his legs were that he was facing that direction. But I kind of like the idea. The Emperor always speaks to me as authority and government. And that reminds me of history, political history, politics and history. And that always seems to be looking backwards, not looking forward. So that seems appropriate to me for the Emperor. The other one was the Hanged Man is looking backwards. And that one, on both those cards, the Hangman and the Emperor, their leg is pointing forward. So the face is looking backward, but the leg is pointing forward. So yeah, I kind of like that. Oh, so I missed something, so I have to look back. Happy squirrel. Miners will only take 4 more days based on how quickly you work, says Jane. Jen. No, I'm not doing miners because the miners, I would want to do pictorial miners. I don't really want to do Marseille miners. If I do a pip deck, I would want to do it Marseille, and there's just too much involved in getting that right. All the embellishments are important, and I'm not informed enough about those kind of decks yet to do that. Um, uh, Melissa, I really don't want you to think I was dogging on your art. The beyond your capabilities was about the crayfish symbolism. Oh, okay, gotcha. Um, Crayfish is going beyond the capabilities of its species by coming out during the full moon. Crayfish hide at the full moon. I don't know. Sometimes I used to think it was a lobster, and then someone said it's a crayfish. Either way, it has a primitive quality to it, but other than the symbolism of like coming out of the water onto the land, I don't really, I mean, which could be like a mudfish or something. I like the idea of like evolving out of something primitive and coming onto the land. But I think there was a fish that had legs that, crawled out of the water onto the land. I think it was a mudfish. Let's see. FML. I don't know what FML is. I like it. Pause, breath, not meant to know right now. When you feel inspired, you just go for it, Robin. You went for it. Yeah, it's really weird, Simon. It was like my dad's DNA coming to the surface, and I don't know what it was. I kept thinking yesterday was the fourth, and it was actually the third. But I mean, when I posted notice, I was like, okay, I did this on the fourth, and today is May the 4th, and that's like what they call Star Wars Day. May the fourth be with you, which is really hokey and corny. But the fourth, the force was with me. I think my dad had this very get it done now kind of mentality, and I am not that way. I'm really lazy, and I procrastinate, and I put things off, and I actually do accomplish things, but you know, it kind of like has to build to a point where it kind of bubbles over, and then I just go get really focused and get to it. And that's my dad was a do it now guy. If you got a chore to do, get it done with. And it's like, oh, I kept seeing all these cards and having all these ideas in my head and all my art supplies and thought, 78 cards, I will never do this. Or I have a concept for a deck I've been wanting to do since I got my 22-sided die, which is I had to memorize the majors 1 through 22 or 0 through 21 actually. And so I got to thinking about the visual cues in Arabic numerals that would help me remember visually what each card is. And so I thought, oh, I should do a tarot like that, kind of like flashcards for kids, where each number is a visual representation of what it is. And I was going to do that with this deck, but I had so much trouble with the Fool because of that oval shape. I didn't want a round, fat figure for the Fool, but I want the basic body to mirror or mimic the number. And I thought, well, I could use this open round face, with the eyes and the mouth and the round skull for the O and the Fool, and that kind of led to what I did, but it's not the same at all. But it was just kind of overwhelming to work out that concept, and maybe I'll do it at another point. But I don't know what I would do with the minors if I did that. I might, and also I don't have to do Arabic. I could do Roman numerals, but then you get into more characters. It makes it a little harder, I think. Please let us know the release date. Well, I'm expecting, I don't know how long Make Playing Cards will take to get these to me. I figure, it used to be about a week to 10 days, but with what's going on with the postage and I don't know, at the factory, it might take longer. So I'm guessing probably in 2 weeks it'll be available. And when it is, I'll let you know, and I'll post a link. But I definitely want to make sure that I still feel happy with it when I see the cards. First of all, I'll do my own walkthrough, and I'll post a link there. So, heads up. If you're subscribed to me and you have the bell clicked, you'll get a notice on that. And also, I want to encourage all of you, if you're on Facebook, but you're not a friend of mine, please friend me on Facebook. There's so much stuff I would love to share, but I feel guilty about sharing it on Simon's Hermit's Cave Facebook page. And I know some of it I can, but there's rules there. Some of it I can't. And he has a much larger audience for me to reach out to. And I know a lot of these people from different chats on different channels, but they don't all come to my once a month live. They don't find me on Facebook, and they only know me in the chats. So it's hard for me to like share some of these ideas unless I happen to mention it in a chat or post it on the Hermit's Cave Facebook page. So please, friend me on Facebook. Uh, Someone tell Robin to read what Melissa wrote above. I did. As a newbie, Katie says, I love the artist's thoughts. Well, you got a little bit of that today. Maybe I'll do a PDF explanation when I release the deck. That might be something. That's something I can easily do, I think. Okay. Playing card style pips, Robin. No, I don't think so. I'll think about it, but right now I'm not thinking so. Katie, even if it took 6 months to do all, we'll all still be here. And this is, like I said, this is crude. It's a first, it's an experiment. It was to get things underway. This is not the ideal deck I would have picked for my first deck to throw out there to the world. So it's kind of like, baby steps. All of you, I mean, the thing I like most about these sites like Make Playing Cards is they don't require that much of you. You get a template and you have some images to drag in there. Any one of you can do the same. And you can see now from what I've done, it doesn't require a whole lot of artistic ability. Stick figures, it's just if you've got a scanner, if you have got a I have a printer, my printer's broken, but the scanner part still works. Talk about how lazy and procrastinating I am. I haven't used the scanner for ages because there's so much stuff piled on top of it and in front of it, all these tarot decks and things that I just didn't want to like unload it to get at it to use. Now, is that lazy or what? It's lazy. Also, I just ordered a tin for my RWS 2.0, and I wanted on that tin not the design on the back because I'm not a big fan of the back design. But my personal favorite of that deck is the Three of Wands. And I didn't have a good scan of that because I was saying, oh, my scanner's broken. Well, it wasn't really broken. It just wasn't plugged in. It was hard to get to, and it's just too much to be bothered with. So I took a computer screenshot of it and tried to clean it up. And I used that and I ordered that. And it's identifiable, but it doesn't have the crisp clarity of the actual image from the 2.0. So since I scanned these, I went ahead and scanned that. And, now I don't need it because I have a tin on the way. But if it looks really bad, I can like order another one, a better one with a good scan. Repeat your comment. I love majors only tarots. Do you know how long it would take for you to have your first copy in your hands? Robin says, Masha, it's probably about 2 weeks. Melissa says, if you ordered it yesterday, probably about 3 weeks if COVID delays don't happen. Yeah, maybe not. We'll see. What do I think of one card only as a visual representation for each element of the minors? I thought about that. Oh, here's an idea I had because I worried. I had this thought about since minors are only 21 cards or 22 cards, and that's not thick enough to shuffle. What if I doubled it? So I thought, well, you know how Patrick has done these alternate versions of his Triumphi. in, like negatives or solarized, different colorings. I thought, well, what if I just take the same images and do a negative on them? Then, I've got a deck with 44 cards instead of 22, and you can either split it into two different decks if you like a black deck with white lines or a white deck with black lines. You have them, and I could conceivably use the dark ones as negatives or reversals, because I don't really do reversals. But I thought, oh, there's an idea: a majors only deck with built-in reversals, so you don't have to change the direction. You get a reversal with the negative images. But I looked at the programs that I have on my computer, and none of them allowed me to do a negative version. They did allow me to cast color on the cards, like a faint color wash overall, or change the line coloring, but I didn't like it. It was this weird kind of modern pale pastel. I don't know. I didn't like the colors. So I actually like the kind of like antique look of the sepia tone. But I did play with that idea. I also thought maybe I would just have um, add the elements, a card for each element, possibly. Or, um, well, that would be the same as the pips, I guess, one for each element. But that only adds 4 cards. But it's an idea. It's an idea, Brienne. Sandra says, yes, please do. I'm not sure if she's referring to that idea. Melissa says it takes about a week to print and 2 to ship. Hasn't taken that long for me generally. Usually I have it within, all told, within 2 weeks, but way to embrace the Ace of Wands card Jen pulled in this week's tarot play date. Yeah, just do the aces, yeah. That's L. Conrad needs to sleep. Good night. It's probably gone by now. Thank you again, Conrad, for your help. Simon says, feel free to. Decks are fine. Yeah, but I mean, the other day I posted something and nobody freaked out, but I thought I was going to get crap for it. It was a day honoring Beltane, and T-Rex did this song I love called Beltane Walk. So I posted it for people to give a listen to, but I thought, oh, I'm breaking the rules. You're not supposed to post YouTube videos on the Hermit's Cave, but I did. But nobody's caught it yet. Naomi just ordered a majors only coffin shaped deck by Manuel Tomato. I just ordered a coffin shaped Lenormand deck from Tarot by 7, which is just gorgeous. I can't wait to get that. Everybody's saying goodnight to Conrad. He's probably shuffled off long ago. It's a tarot group. Artists can share their decks. Feel free. Thank you, Simon. Elle enjoyed seeing them. Masha can't draw. What company's printing them? Make playing cards. I just ordered from them because I like the card quality of the 2.0 and the Solabusca that I got. Although I got the study deck from them too, and I think it's the same stock, but it doesn't feel the same, so I don't know. Simon says, great idea, light and shadow work, morning or evening pulls. Yeah. Elle says, cool concept. Katie says, would they face the opposite way? That was another idea I had, just flipping the cards so that the directions changed. But I didn't do it. I mean, like I said, 22 cards in one day. It was enough to Simon says off to remove. Cheeky swine. Um, you can remove it now that Beltane's over. But I got it in there. Should be able to invert colors even in something as basic as Microsoft Paint. I don't have Microsoft Paint. I have a Mac, and I have art, or no, what do I have? The photos thing. You can tweak some stuff in photos, like sort of kind of airbrushing. But yeah, there's not a whole lot I can do, really. You can tweak the coloration in preview. That's kind of what I did. You can add contrast. You can add, I changed them to sepia tone, which I did. You can add intensity, sort of a color to them. But the colors really kind of just gave a hint of a color to the white card and more color to the line work. Yeah. Oop. People keep slipping off here. Okay, have to go. Bye, Sandra. Sandra did a fab job. Robin, loved the deck. Thank you, Sandra. Night, Sandra. She's probably gone. Since minors represent your everyday journey, you could also, along with the 4 elements, add a number card, 1 to 4, 5 to 7, 8 to 10. So 3 extra cards for each set of minors, maybe, says Brianne. These are all ideas. I don't want to reinvent the wheel, but, it's a possibility. Paint Pro. L, would you ever create an Oracle deck to go with your tarot deck? Possibly. I thought about an Oracle deck in the past, but I'm not sure. Then again, I've made lists of images. I mean, lists of words that I would turn into images. So maybe I need to open that folder and start playing with that. But I'm not that big on Oracle decks. Not as much as I used to be. And even then, I don't have a lot of them in my collection. And my favorite ones just have images, no keywords. And I don't know how popular that is with people. Other than the Soul cards and my John Waterhouse Oracle, which I love, my favorite Oracle, and my metaphysical Lenormand, which I use as an Oracle, that doesn't have keywords on it. L, maybe making your own Oracle could ignite your love for the system again. Maybe. The only advantage I can see to doing an Oracle is the card count. I don't have to be limited to 22, and I don't have to do 78, and I don't even have to do, I mean, it can be any number, because in the template you can tell it how many cards you want in the deck. So, I can just do as many drawings as I'm happy with and then stop. But the scanning and tweaking of each of the images was kind of a process, a laborious process. So, I mean, as it is, it took me a lot of time and standing and pressing down on my scanner to make sure there weren't any shadows on the paper, and I got an even scan, and it was kind of a mess. L, it was so fun seeing your creation. Thanks, L. I guess I should wind things up. It's 5:45, so we've been on here an hour and 45 minutes. That's a lot. A lot of you are probably anxious to be going to bed. So, time for the mukbang closing. No mint sauce. I'll have a junior mint. Do you have junior mints in England or Australia? My original favorite early chocolate mint was the York peppermint patty. These have a glossy, talk about glossy cards. These mints have a glossy coating. These are delightful. They melt in your mouth if you give them the chance, but I don't give them the chance usually. After eights, Naomi says, yeah, I like after eights too. Andes, I like Andes too. My mints are a little bit crushed. Morning coffee time from Masha. Peppermint Patty. What a good drag queen name. Well, Peppermint Patty, wasn't that I thought that was a character in the Charlie Brown cartoon. Simon had him a lot when he was in the U.S. Not sure if he means York or Junior Mints. Kendall mint cake with chocolate on. Naomi. I should ask Simon. I was wondering about the mint sauce, but you said it had vinegar in it. I was thinking, how would that mint sauce be if I put it on top of mint chocolate chip ice cream? Would it be mintier? But I don't know. If it's got vinegar in it, that's probably not a good idea. Simon says, no, Robin. All right. Chopped mint leaves with vinegar. It sounds sort of like pesto sauce, except pesto sauce doesn't have vinegar in it. Pesto is like oil and basil leaves, and basil is a sort of a mint, I believe. Peanut butter and chocolate mint ice cream. I don't know, Brienne. I wonder about mint sauce on those baked beans. Yay, Mike! Robin made me do it, staring to writing down notes from making my own deck. Do it, Mike. Masha wants ice cream for breakfast. Do it, Masha. Why not? Who's stopping you? Damn, I wish these weren't crushed. The goo is coming out and they're harder to handle without getting all sticky. All right. Thank everybody for coming, and I'll see you in June, first Monday in June. Please join my Facebook page, please. And also, if you're up, not quite 5 hours from now, at 11 p.m. New York time, my radio show is on. And I think last month I told people about it, and I don't know if anybody tuned in or listened. Every time I tell people about it or advertise, there's a technical glitch at the station. And I think last month when I urged all you to check it out, they aired the first hour, and then the second hour, their canned music kicked in. They've got an automated system called Luxotron 5000 or 2000 or something. And that's their pre-recorded canned music that they play at times in the station when there aren't scheduled radio shows going on, because it's a 24-hour radio channel on the internet. So, But yeah, please, if you're up for it. Tonight's theme, I do a theme every month on my radio show at luxuriamusic.com. That's all one word, luxuriamusic.com. You can look it up. My radio show is called The Dark Day Escape Pod, and I cover all genres of music from the 1920s through now, although there's a heavy amount of 60s through 90s in there. Um, but I usually do a theme based on titles. So tonight the theme is little. So all the pop songs that I used have little or tiny or small in the title. And you get a really nice variety, just a whole grab bag of songs based with that theme. So it's a lot of fun. So yeah, please tune in and pop into the chat room. If nobody's in the chat room, then I'll probably be on Facebook and you can message me privately there. But if you're in the chat room, we can have another chat during my radio show. It's from 11 p.m. to 1 in the morning, New York time. I think that's 8 to 10 California time. And I have no idea what it is in Europe or parts farther east. But anyway, thank you everybody for popping by, and I'm going to end the stream now, and I will see you in June. I don't know what holiday it is in June, maybe June weddings, maybe the lover's card, not sure. All right, good night.